Hey guys, so there's a little bit of rain and lots of wind happening outside today, so unfortunately we're going to have our little chat inside because it's just too windy for the camera. So this topic is not going to be popular, tried to avoid this topic, but over the years, prompted by the crazy drivers videos and various other videos, and more recently the car accident, there's been a variety of comments and questions along the lines of Asian people are bad drivers, as a statement, or as a question, are Asian people bad drivers? And Japanese people are bad drivers. And as a question, are Japanese people bad drivers? so over the years, prompted by those things, I've been asked to offer observations or comments, right? And I haven't, because I hate topics like this, because you can't win whatever you say. But in fairness, it keeps coming up, so it has to be addressed. Anything and everything about Japan, right? So first thing I'd say is, any question or statement about Asian people, I can't comment, because the only observations that I might have are about Japanese people and about Japan. So Asia in general, I don't know. So I'm not qualified, or I don't have enough information to make observations about other parts of Asia. I can only comment on what I see in Japan. So the Asian questions about any topic, I can't help you, sorry. As far as Japan's concerned, I'll make a couple of observations first of all. First one is, I do know some Japanese people who are very good drivers and very safe drivers. That's the first observation. And of course, any topic like this, you're really generalising, because you're talking about 100 million people. You're generalising, of course, you have to be. So yes, I do know some good Japanese drivers. The second observation I would make is that I think we are designed to move as fast as we can run. That the human brain and the human body is really designed to deal with what we can do ourselves, and that along has come the technology, and along has come cars, and here, have a car. And I don't think driving a car is a natural skill. It's something that we have to learn, and I don't think everybody has the aptitude. What I often think about when I'm thinking about this is, as a pilot, one of my oldest friends was a flying instructor. He actually got me into flying, and he still is a flying instructor. And we've had conversations over the years where occasionally he'll get a student who spends $10,000 doing flying lessons and does 20 hours or 30 hours of flying, and my friend just decides that this person just doesn't have it, that when they come to do emergency practice, emergency procedures and things like that, or just landing the aeroplane, that this particular student won't have what it takes. And he forms the opinion that that person will never have what it takes. And that's happened a number of times over the years. And often he'll talk to me about it and say, because he really sweats over it. The person spent a lot of money, they're really keen to get a pilot's license, they really want to do it, but he just doesn't think they have what it takes, and that if he approves them as a pilot, they go off, they might crash and kill themselves. Just briefly, it did actually happen about 35 years ago. There was a person that went to him, wanted a license, he wouldn't give them one. They went to another flying school, that flying school gave them one, and a couple of months later that person died. They crashed and died because they just didn't have what it takes. And we see it in flying all the time. Probably fair to say the majority of people don't have what it takes to be able to keep their mindset and their situational awareness and deal with all the stimulation at once and all the other challenges it takes to fly an aeroplane. And I don't think driving a car is terribly different. That those things that are required. The difference is, though, that if someone's told that they can't get a pilot's license, they can never fly an aeroplane, they get on with their lives, don't they? But unfortunately, just about all of us need a car, don't we? So we've sort of got this situation now where there are obviously people who go for a driver's license again and again and again, eventually get it. But really, when you look at what a driving test involves, it's just driving. Usually people drive extremely slowly in a driving test, don't they? And just step by step and park the car and do this. Oh, you've got a driver's license, off you go. In flying training, there's all sorts of emergency procedures. The instructor will just pull the power back to idle and go, right, you've got an engine failure. what are you going to do? You know, and all these sorts of emergency things where you've got to deal with it, and if you can't deal with it, you don't get a license. Whereas for most places where you get a driver's license, there's no real emergency training, is there? There's no sort of training to test you under stress or to test you under difficult circumstances, or, you know, I just don't think it's a natural skill. So I mean, that's probably enough of that. But that, you know, I've been asked for my observations and my opinions, and that's what I want to start by saying, that I think people in general, you know, not just Japanese people, but people in general, there are some people that just don't have the right temperament or the right skills or the right mindset or the right competence to really be driving cars, but they are, you know, and I think that's my first observation, okay, just to clarify that it's, I don't think it's just a Japanese thing. So, more specific to the Japanese thing, a couple more observations. One is, Japanese people from when they're young, and I see it with my kids who've grown up in Japan, you know, born and raised here, that Japanese society, you know, Japanese schools and Japanese society in general, doesn't encourage you to think for yourself. It's all right from the start. It's all about just being told what to do, and it's like being programmed. And when this happens, you do this, and when this happens, you do this, and when this happens, you do this. And there's no real encouragement for people to think for themselves. And then, you know, quite often you see that. We've shown you over the years, the Gardaman thing's a good example, where anywhere you go where there's more than one person, they'll have Gardaman there, telling you where you can't park, and telling you where you should go, and telling you what you can't do, and telling, and all of society's like that. You know, it's at school and at work too. People have their senpai above them, and their senior people above them, and everybody tells the people below them what to do, and everything's sort of procedural, and everything's sort of set. And so there's just sort of not any time in Japanese life from when people are born and all through their lives where they're really encouraged or expected to think for themselves. You know, and none of this is meant as an insult to anybody. It's just an observation, you know, and I'm sure anybody who is watching this who lives in Japan will recognise this, that there just isn't anywhere in life here. In fact, it's discouraged, you know, and we've talked about this over the years, that thinking for yourself is discouraged in Japan, that you know, if everybody's doing this and everyone's doing that, that's what you do. You don't think for yourself. And the problem is that when you drive a car, you're required to think for yourself, aren't you? You know, and that skill is just not developed, where people just, they're told, and all those things that we show you with kids riding around in the front seat of the car without a seatbelt with their face against the airbag, you know, unless a Gardaman or somebody comes along and says, don't do that, it's dangerous, they won't think about it. And the other thing is, it's that hive thing again, where their friends do it, so they think it's okay for them to do it too. And nobody free thinks it and thinks for themselves and says, hey, wait a minute, maybe the 4-year-old standing on the seat with their face against the airbag while we're driving along in the rain and I'm looking at my phone, maybe that's dangerous. They just don't think like that. You know, they're used to being told anything that, particular with danger, there's always someone that tells you what's dangerous. There's always the Gardaman or someone, oh, abanayo, or the old man, abanayo. And unless someone says it's dangerous, they just don't think about it. They're always surprised. That lady that hit my car, she was so surprised. Just before she hit me, she sailed through a stop sign without looking, and her face, just before she hit me, was total shock. She'd just gone straight through a stop sign, didn't look either way, and then when suddenly she saw me in front of her, she just looked totally shocked. And then after she hit, she got out of the car, she was totally amazed. And you see that here all the time. You know, I comment to my kids about that sometimes. We had a classic one time at a park. There was 2 parents and a couple of kids leaning over into a pond. And I looked over and my daughter said, how deep do you think the pond is? And I said, we're going to find out in a minute, because that boy's going to fall in. And I could see the way they were playing and the way what they were doing. They were right on the edge of falling over this little edge into this pond. And I said to her, we'll find out how deep it is in a minute, because that boy's going to fall in. And no kidding, within a minute, he fell in, and the parents, all shocked, and reached over and pulled him out of the pond, and oh no, and ran back to the car with him, you know. They couldn't see it, because there wasn't a big sign saying don't fall in the pond, and because there wasn't a Gardaman saying don't fall in the pond, you know, so that's the first thing, is that the awareness of danger, or the awareness of, you know, unless there's a big campaign. It's why all those dangerous things I show you on those crazy drivers videos, none of those things are going to stop until there's a massive campaign. There has to be a massive campaign that convinces them that it's normal not to do it. You know, if they want to stop them, you know, now and again there'll be a poster or a sign saying don't use your phone while you're driving, and that's it. There's no enforcement. Rarely is there any enforcement. Rarely is there any talk about it. It's just not enough, right? If they want to stop that, they're going to have a huge campaign where they make it clear that doing that is not okay and that it's not normal, that you shouldn't use your phone while you're driving the car. They'll need a massive campaign to stop that. Same to get kids to wear their seatbelts. You know, you'll see a poster now and again telling you that kids should wear seatbelts. It's not enough. They have to, because of the hive mentality, the group mentality, they have to make anything seem that this is the way we've all got to do it. Otherwise, people just won't do it. In the meantime, kids are riding around standing on the seats without seatbelts. Parents are using their phones. You know, all that stuff. People are going through stop signs and red lights. All that stuff's normal here, and the enforcement's really low. So the chances of getting caught doing any of that stuff is really, really low. And the accident thing is obviously just a statistic, right? They keep sailing through stop signs and red lights, and most of the time it's okay. And then now and again they'll hit somebody, and then they'll get surprised. Ooh, you know. So that's the first thing, is the lack of awareness of danger is really high. The other one is just the lack of a situational awareness in general. And the way you see people driving here is similar to the way they walk. So when you're in a public place like a shopping centre or something like that, and those of you who live in Japan will start laughing right about now, because the situational awareness just isn't there. And again, without a guardman standing there telling them go this way or that way, or a senpai saying come over here, a Japanese tour group, right? The tour leader has a flag, follow me. And without that, they get lost. They're just not aware of what's going on around them. And a classic is they'll get to the top of an escalator or bottom of an escalator and step off it and just stand there and look around, trying to work out where they want to go. And all the people are coming down the escalator behind them, and they're totally unaware. Or in a supermarket or shopping centre or somewhere like that, you're going through the aisles, and they'll just be standing in the middle of the aisle with their shopping cart, and there might be another person sort of beside them, not with them, standing there looking around with their shopping cart, and just totally unaware. And you can walk right up behind them and stand right behind them, and they're just totally unaware of the fact that you're there. And this is without them staring at their phones, right? That takes it to a whole new level. But this is just this lack of situational awareness in general, and it drives you nuts. You know, you'll be walking along somewhere, and there'll be someone in front of you, and they'll just turn and walk across in front of you. And then again, see, they're all surprised. They're all, sorry, I didn't know you were there. And it's like, well, yeah, it's because you don't look. You know, they walk across streets like that, pedestrians, scary as hell. You've got all these people driving around through stop signs and red lights and not stopping at pedestrian crossings, you know, drivers not stopping at pedestrian crossings. And then you have people walking up to pedestrian crossings, they're just walking across the street without looking. Just walk across the street. And you'll see these cars come and squeal on the brakes, and, you know, the amount of near misses that I see and am involved in almost every day is amazing. It's sort of like waiting to be attacked by a ninja at any minute, you know, because a car will come out of here, a car will come out of there. It's scary as. And watching other people, you know, the walking across the crossing thing, walking down the street, there's sort of an element of, it's normal in Japan not to look at other people. It's sort of part of their thing about, we've talked about this before, it's sort of part of their thing about giving each other privacy and distance by not looking at each other. Even if there's a big group of people standing really close together, they'll just stand there. And they won't say, oh, hello, how are you? Or isn't it nice weather or something? Usually, they'll just stand there and not look at each other. And which means when they're moving, they do the same thing. That they're just sort of moving along and they're not looking at who's around them. And I'll have friends, I'll have people I know I run into at the shopping centre, and they won't see me, and I'll walk right up to them. 100 kilos, 189 centimetres, right? And I'll just walk up to them, and they go, hello. You know, didn't see me coming. didn't see me because they're just in this sort of like tunnel vision thing. My wife does it. She'll drive past me in the car. I'll drive past her going the other way, and I'll be waving like this, and she'll just drive past. Just not notice. Come home later, I say, "Did you see me today?" No. You know, it's just this thing. So all this is normal here, right? All this is normal. So if you take all that, the lack of awareness of danger and the lack of situational awareness, and then put those people in a car, that helps explain why it's the way it is. Because they're just not aware. And then you add to that, then hand them a cell phone, and they're driving around staring at their cell phones added on top of that, So I don't think it's as clear cut as just saying, this group of people are good drivers and this group of people are bad drivers or whatever. I don't think it's as simple as that. I think it's just Japanese society in general has those points. A lack of situational awareness, what's going on around them, a lack of awareness of what's dangerous. They've got no idea. The things they talk about that are dangerous, most Japanese people think walking in the rain is dangerous. That there's something in the rain that's not good for you, that there's the dust that's in the rain and it's not healthy to walk in the rain and don't get rain on you. They worry about that, but they walk across a pedestrian crossing without looking either way, just assuming that the other robots will stop like they're supposed to, which of course they don't. We see that all the time, and again, it's just luck. You see people drive through, the pedestrian crossing will have a green light, and a person's supposed to stop for the people on the crossing, and they just won't. They'll just drive through oblivious and not even notice that they drove through and there was people on the crossing, just oblivious. So, the fact that they all trust each other just to do the light's green, I'm going to go, and not aware of what's going on around them. That's and not aware of the danger. So I'd suggest that those two things, the lack of situational awareness and the lack of awareness of danger, or the lack of being able to recognise danger. Because you see it all the time here, that kid falling in the pond was such a classic, because we've had lots of stuff like that happen over the years where I'll say to my kids, that's going to fall off, that's going to break, he's going to fall over, and you can see it coming a mile away and they don't see it. And then when it happens they go, oh, and they have this big exaggerated surprise thing that they do when something happens like that. And those two parents with the pond, it was just amazing. You could see it coming. This kid was leaning right over, and the parents weren't aware. They weren't holding onto his shirt or anything. He was leaning right over the edge. And they're looking at him. They're looking at him, but they weren't thinking, he's going to lose his balance and fall in and hold onto his shirt. They just watching him. And look at the fish. And I could see it from 100 metres away. He's going to fall in the pond. We're going to know how deep that pond is because he's going to fall in. And sure enough, next minute, big splash. And the parents are so surprised. Oh, what happened? He fell in the pond. I say it to my kids all the time, act surprised. When that guy falls off that thing, or when that thing breaks, or you can see it coming. And I tell my kids that, what's going to happen over there. And then it happens and they all act surprised. And that's exactly what happens with the driving. Exactly what happens with the driving. You'll see them, sometimes there'll be a row of cars and they've all run into the back of each other and they're all pulled over at the side, and you see them standing there shaking their heads and all surprised and amazed. And it's because they drive too fast and too close together. And so when one of them messes up, they all run into each other. They go, bikurishita, they say, bikurishita. Oh, surprise, surprise. So that'll be my two comments. Just one added thing. There was a thing in the media recently they were talking about gold license holders. If you can go 5 years without a penalty, like a speeding penalty or something like that, or an accident, which obviously I've got to wait another 5 years, you'll get a gold license. So my license is blue at the moment. If I can go 5 years without an accident or a penalty, I'll get a gold license, right? Which just usually means your insurance is a bit cheaper. But I saw a thing this week and they said that 30% of gold license holders don't drive. So in other words, it's people who got a driver's license when they're 18, but they never bothered to drive, right? And for whatever reason, they don't drive. So what happens is they go 5 years without an accident or a penalty because they don't drive. And then when they renew their driver's license, they get a gold one, right? So that's 30% of them. So yeah, that's all that. Yeah, the awareness, kids. Kids are scary. Scariest thing is the kids. You know, we worry about our kids all the time. We worry about other people's kids because you see them in the car. That story, I used that example before of the kid standing at the front, the 4-year-old standing at the front with the face against the airbag and the mother on the phone and in the rain. That actually happened. We were driving along the road in the rain and looked over and there she was. She's staring at her phone and the little kid standing up on the seat leaning against the front of the dashboard where the airbag would be, like this, in the rain. You know, she hits a car at even, 30 kilometres an hour would be enough to set off the airbag, break the kid's head, break the kid's neck, you know, and everybody would be surprised. Oh, you know, that surprise thing, there'll be people watching this who live in Japan who'll be wincing at that. It's sort of a bit, it sounds a little bit amusing, but the amusement factor of it wears off after a while and just becomes frustration. When stuff happens and they all go, oh, bickerity-star. We go to the park with our kids all the time and you see it in the park all the time. Some kid doing something that you do, oh, that's not going to end well. And the parents are just sitting there oblivious or staring at their phone and the next minute somebody's crying, and they're all this big exaggerated surprise thing going on. It's like, well, why are you surprised? Why couldn't you see that coming a mile away? But I don't think it's their fault. I think it's just this society, it's this life. It's this life, growing up like that. I mean, I'm always trying to get my kids to be more situational aware because they're not taught to at school. They're not encouraged to by society. They're told. They're told, do this now, come over here, go over there, stand over here, go over there. You know, and the adults too. That's what it's like being an adult in Japan too. You're told, come over here, go over there, stand over here. Abunayo, abunayo. There's always some guardaman somewhere who will tell you things are dangerous. One of the most dangerous places in our town is the car park of the shopping centre. They drive through it oblivious and they'll come out and come around corners just not looking, not stopping, just oblivious, and they'll walk like that too through the car park. And it's the scariest place in our town, that car park, because the cars will just come out and they just don't look. And then they see you and they go, oh, big exaggerated surprise. Or they're walking with their bags and just walk out in front of you. And you hit the brakes and squeal of the tyres and big exaggerated surprise. It's like, why are you surprised? You just walked out onto the middle of a road and a car almost hit you. What's surprising about that, you know? You didn't look. Why are you surprised? So anyway, you get the idea. So the answer to the question, are Japanese people bad drivers? I think driving is not a natural skill, and I think that the way Japanese society works, it doesn't prepare people for a skill like driving a car. You know, it's just those things. On the list of things that you need to be a good driver, I think situational awareness and awareness of danger are two of the big things, and Japanese society doesn't teach that or encourage that or appreciate that. It's just not the way Japanese thinking for yourself is discouraged in Japan. The nail that stands up gets hit down, is what they say. Don't think for yourself. Don't do anything different. So you just do what everyone else is doing. So if everyone else is staring at their phone, letting their kids stand on the seat, and not looking where they're going, and if everybody else is doing that, you do it too. Don't think for yourself. Don't stop and think what's dangerous or what you should do or anything else. So anyway, you guys get the idea. The people who'll be living in Japan are probably tearing their hair out at the moment going, so true. It drives you insane. It's scary because it affects us. I mean, I probably shouldn't have made that video this week because, you know, I'm a bit sensitive about that this week. Because, you know, driving along, being as careful as I can, and then just one of the people I just described just comes out of nowhere and hits my car. You know, it's frustrating and scary as hell when my kids have to go walking off to go somewhere, and I'm just, you know, be careful, look out for I tell them in English, look out for the crazy people. Because, you know, I don't want to be rude, but it's just true. There are people driving cars out there that shouldn't be, basically. You know, the truth is, isn't it? Probably true of every country, really, that, you know, there are people that are driving cars that shouldn't be. So, anyway, that was that. More videos. Videos like this, you know they're going to be unpopular. You know, before you even make them, before you even turn the camera on, But the topic is anything and everything about Japan, so this has come up so many times, it's relevant. More videos coming soon.